Everything beautiful begins on the inside and radiates out, whether it's our personal beauty or that of our business and branding. Welcome to Beautiful Brands Inside and Out with host Bonnie Bonadeo. In our show, we help you find the success that you deserve by challenging you to take an outside and inside look at your branding and business. Now, here's your host, Bonnie Bonadeo.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Beautiful Brands Inside and Out, where static is your enemy, and you have to find your brand frequency in order to attract the customers, the right customers, to be able to come to you. And that's what we're all about here at Beautiful Brands Inside and Out. And we're featuring companies all year long that focus in on having a strong brand and whatever that other secret sauce is that has them be successful. And in some cases, it might be the product itself, it might be the packaging, it might be the service. But in our case today with my special guest, it's all about leadership. So my guest is Daniel Kainer. He is the co-founder and president of Oribe Hair Care. And thanks, Daniel, for joining us today.
Thank you, Bonnie. Happy holidays to you.
Happy holidays.
I've been on television.
Yeah, this is great. So we're on Facebook Live on my business page. For those of you who might be listening to us, we're on my business page, Bonnie Bonadeo Coach, and we're going to stream live for the entire show here. But for those of you that are listening to us, I know that you're on one of my syndications here, either iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spotify, maybe you're even on Voice America or directly on my website at bonniebonadeo.com. So thanks for joining me here. Now, we are in the holidays. We are coming close to the holidays, and I don't know. I love the holidays because I think it's one of the best branding holidays going. Like they know how to brand Christmas and Hanukkah and all of these different holidays. So it's fun to be able to look and see what's new, what's happening in there. But you know what, Daniel, you've done a great job in building up this brand and your company called Oribe. And I think it's getting an amazing amount of traction. And I think partly it's because it's beautiful. It's a beautiful line. Partly because the fragrance is fantastic. The product performance is amazing. But I know that there's more to it. And I know that to be able to scale a company from one level to another is more than all of those things. And I think knowing you and having had conversations with you in the past, which have always been fantastic, I think it has something to do with you and your leadership style and building a fantastic team. So certainly that's what I want to chat about today with you, is to find out a little bit more about that secret sauce called your leadership here. So, but I'm more interested right now in finding out a little bit more about your story before we get into the story of Oribe. And Daniel, can you fill us in on, like, you know, how did you end up in beauty? How did this relationship with Oribe the man actually transpire?
I'd be very happy to tell you the story, but the one thing I want to share with you and the audience is that I may be the most accountable in our company today, but we built the brand with a tremendous team, and there's so many talented individuals that built this brand with me. So I wish I was that talented. That's not the case. I started in beauty a long time ago, and I got into beauty, strangely enough, through my beautiful marriage. I met a woman in Minnesota so many years ago, and her name is Sonia Kashik. And my wife is an amazing business story. My wife is an amazing leader, and Sonia had this wonderful career where she was a session makeup artist working in New York City. And she came to Minnesota because she was working with Aveda Corporation, you know, fabulous product line based in Minnesota. And we met in Minnesota while she was consulting. And Sonia already had this fabulous career. She wasn't about to move back to Minnesota, so I moved to New York City where she was. And I started in hair care working with Aveda. And for those of you that know that fabulous brand, there was a founder by the name of Horst Rechelbacher. And may he rest in peace, he has left us, but what an energetic, interesting business person, highly textured, unique perspective. And it was a wonderful way to start my career in hair care. Mm-hmm. From there, I was asked to become a partner at Bumble & Bumble, another fabulous brand, New York based. And I worked in marketing, sales. It was a small company, and that company eventually sold to Estee Lauder. And the next move was an area that we saw as white space. Most hair care is sold in beauty salons, professional salons. And the idea is that to make it professional practitioners, hairdressers, licensed, are selling products in licensed environments.
Mm-hmm.
And went from there to Oribe Hair Care and founded that because we saw that opportunity to bring luxury into the category. That was a quick version.
Yeah, I love that. So you got your start with your wife, who's fabulous, by the way. I really enjoyed the presentation that I saw from her when we were all together in wine country this year. I think it was this year. Wow.
The year went by very fast.
Yes, it went very, very fast. So that was it was great presentation. And I love power couples like that can see something in it. You moved to New York, you got more involved with this, but you met this man that somehow created some kind of vision. Like you had a vision of this white space that you talked about. And I can see as a leader, your board behind you that, that you're a good storyteller here. I see your story posted it up on the wall. So awesome. you saw this white space and then you met this man.
We did. So you mean the man we're talking about is Oribe Canales?
Yes, Oribe.
So Oribe, this is a whole interesting story because Oribe was very good friends with my wife, Sonia Kashik. And I met Oribe over 33 years ago. I'm very sad for the listeners and watchers today that are here with us. Oribe passed this last year at the age of 62. And it was a tremendous loss, but I knew him for over 30 years. And it was Sonia that always thought that Oribe was a brand waiting to happen. And, he had such an amazing gift in hairdressing. He had sort of a personal magic. It was, I won't say flamboyance, but there was something there that was so engaging. Something there just drew us in and attracted us. And he was an amazing hairdresser. So you put those two together, and he was a legendary personality in that arena. And
he was.
Yes, absolutely. And for our guests can Google him and look him up and take a look at him. He was a very handsome individual. When he would walk into a room, everyone thought someone arrived. They would send over drinks or, they would come looking for an autograph. And he had such a special way of treating people. So Oribe wanted to do a product line. And my wife, Sonia, always believed strongly that it was a product line. And I remember the first time that we met, it just wasn't maybe the right time. And I was a little younger in my career. And it was something that as we grew, we saw this opportunity for the line. And of course, Oribe, as being part of that journey, was very important because I think he was someone that so inspired consumers and hairdressers to be their best. He had a different perspective that was so engaging.
Yeah, he really did. He really absolutely kind of lit up a room. And I think people were fascinated with his easeful style in doing hair, but his enthusiasm certainly brought you in. I remember the earlier days when there were some educational functions that were going on and people were crazy about trying to get tickets to this event with him. And it was really something different. And I really think that it brought the beauty industry together and it really brought some artistic skill back to our industry. And of course, that also makes a very good brand as well when you have an educational element that supports the product usage and the product design so that everybody can be successful with it, not just a hairdresser, but a consumer to be able to be at home and be successful with the products that she's using as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He, as beautiful as the hair was that he did, Oribe, like all of us, sometimes we're a little unsure of, do we have the talent? Do we have the stuff. But when he would start to do hair, you could tell the confidence that he had. We would oftentimes go into the field when we were introducing the brand, and we would go to individual salons across the United States. We would pile in an old van with the team, and we would drive to this place and that place. And he would get up, and we didn't have models at the time, and he would grab a model from the audience. Mm-hmm. And human nature is generally to pick the most gorgeous person in the room, the person that's got so much hair and, you know, beautiful skin. But he just grabbed someone, and she or he felt great. And he was never more confident than when he had his hands in hair. Mm-hmm. This sense, he was so confident in his artistry. And it was very interesting because it's not the way he was necessarily in the rest of his life, or I am. But I think when we find something that is important to us, and we always want to try so hard to be competent and to be good at what we're doing. And that was something that he spent so much time working at his craft, as so many business people do today. We spend so much time refining that which we want to shine a little brighter at.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I know that the industry really believes that Oribe is a best in class, you know, product line, and that the amount of detail that you put into the line, I think it gets lost in translation no matter what, because the detail of the product, the design of the packaging, the way that you've created the internal integral part of the product itself, there's a whole story behind that as well.
There's a tremendous story. Today in business, for our listeners that are in business today, sometimes people talk about, you know, what makes something successful. And when we started out on our journey, there were a lot of wonderful products out there. There are a lot of wonderful products out there today. But we said to ourselves, if we're going to be taken seriously, we have to attempt to create something best in class. Now, most of us didn't know what that meant. So we started to pick the project apart. What would it have to look like to be best in class? What would it have to smell like to be best in class? How would it have to perform to be best in class? Who would have to use it? So we went through an exercise like that. And, you know, as we were creating it, Oribe himself really had one non-negotiable, one thing that, you know, he wanted to contribute to the creating of the brand that he felt we shouldn't negotiate, and that was performance. So it really had to work, because he felt like it's not enough to be good looking. We have to bring something into the market that is efficacious. And he knew, right? I mean, he was doing wonderful editorial work. He worked the collections. He worked with celebrities. He was a workaholic. So here he was, you know, testing these lab samples on these supermodels every day to make sure that we got the right thing. And that was one of the foundational elements that has made Oribe an amazing brand. And now we're in 40 countries today.
And how long has the brand actually existed, Daniel?
Last year we celebrated our 10-year anniversary. So look at us today. We're closing in on our 11th year in market. 11 years.
So you can really look at a decade of growth and then decide, what does this next decade look like? And I really do appreciate the fact that you talked about performance, because I think a lot of times we can go with fancy packaging and then maybe not put the investment into the actual products for them to do what they say they're going to do. Or in some cases, people are like, this is the absolute best product, but they may not have the funds or the resources to be able to make the packaging match the quality of the product. And both of those are going to be a hard start for any product line. But you guys really committed from the front end and said, nope, we have to make this work. Performance has to be important, but we also have to make sure that this is best in class and that we're going to attract the quality people for the quality product.
That's absolutely right. I remember in the earliest days, I think that one of the hardest parts for me in bringing the business to life was the fundraising part of the business.
Mm.
And the partners would go around, and we must have made 100 pitches, 100 introductions, told over 100 stories. And I'm probably minimizing it. And every time we would go to, a legitimate source to raise the money, a bank, they would say, well, you're not asking for enough money. If you were asking for X plus, maybe we'd be able to help you, but you only want this amount. And there were people that wanted to take us public, and that wasn't clearly the way to go. They had no interest in the brand itself. They just wanted something to take public. So strangely enough, we ended up going to small salon owners. We went to small business people that knew us, and gosh, it was amazing. They handed us over checks without a contract, without anything signed, without anything sitting in escrow. And usually they would be considered not sophisticated investors, but in a way by licensing standards, by industry standards. They weren't an institution. They couldn't afford to lose the money. They hadn't made additional investments. But the interesting thing is that they were all in the business. And when they heard the value proposition, when they heard what we were attempting to do and the direction we were going, they knew us, they knew me. And they said, if you can do what you're saying, and if you could continue to, service us the way that you had in the past, and if you continue to be a person of your word, we're in. And they handed over those checks. And I tell you that it was such an honor, and it was so scary.
I bet. Yeah, there's real accountability there, right?
Oh, there's different people that have different mindsets, but when someone hands you over that kind of money, that's a debt that you will repay, or I would repay. And the rate of success in small business is not so high. And I wouldn't consider myself a gambler. We worked in this business for a long period of time. We were in the distribution business. We knew what it was like to make great product. I had worked with some wonderful teams and some wonderful brands before that. So I didn't feel like it was as much of a risk, but knowing what I know now, there were days that, I guess some people would say it was prayer, but I was talking to our maker,
Well, I mean,
hoping.
But there's truth to that, because look at what the last 10 years represented. One of the, worst recessions in history in our country. And here you're like launching a product line, with shampoos and conditioners and hairspray. And we're thinking you really do have to have a point of difference to survive.
You absolutely do. I remember, when we launched the brand, it was, luxury and great things were happening. Consumption was up. And when we launched, then we hit this recession. Mm-hmm. And one of my mentors, it was Theo Breen, fabulous business leader from Estee Lauder, grew up in Benson, Minnesota. Her dad ran a pharmacy, really someone who dispenses unbelievable advice. And she's looked at me and she said, Daniel, you are going to build a better business. You're going to get out there and you're going to make it happen. And this condition in the market is something not to look at as an obstacle, but it's something that's going to push you to be a better business person all your life. And she was right. We went out and I didn't have there was no done yet. There was nothing to smell. There was nothing to look at. But what I had is Oribe's books. He had these beautiful tear sheets. In the old days before everything being digital, all of these Vogue covers and Allure covers, and he used to keep them in these beautiful leather binders. And I put those in a suitcase, and I had some drawings of what we wanted the packaging to look like. We talked about that performance story. talked about the education. We talked about the consumers, how interested they really are in their hair. And there really wasn't something like that to that level in the market. And she was right. This very stripped down, this very honest appeal that I was making resonated with people. And we still do it today. Oftentimes when I'm working with our team, we have 109 amazing team members, and they're all leaders. So we train everyone to be a leader, and we have a coaching program internally. And one of my mentors, my good friend Doug Cole from Minnesota, he taught me so long ago about the importance of coaching and the importance of looking at your team not as employees but as leaders. And he shared with me that when he looks at some of his team members, he sees in them what he thinks they could be, and they may not see it in themselves. So it's part of our job to draw that out. So it's this idea of behind the bottle.
Yeah.
We talk about what I know now, 12 years ago or 13 years ago when we were out raising money. I was telling the story of really what was behind the bottle. And when I'm still training the team today, I don't want them to lead with the bottle. It's really pretty, but it really shortchanges us, and because it doesn't tell the whole story. And it's that story that our consumers are interested in. Today there's so much noise, and people want to do business with people that they like. Mm-hmm. People want to do business with the values that they admire and that they share. And that's really the message that we bring to the partners that we do business with, that we partner with, and the teams that we work with.
Yes. All a good sense of leadership in that coaching philosophy that you were talking about. So it all makes sense that that's why you've had the success that you've had, employees first, building a great team, and always taking care of customers and what customers are asking for, because they are getting savvy, and it's incredibly noisy out there. And ultimately they want to do business with people that they can trust, people that they know, and people they can trust. And, thank God for, social media and the opportunities that we have today, because we do get to step into their home. Like even with this radio show, we get to step into their homes and have them get to know us. And then that builds that trust, and that continues on to, some of the success that I know that Oribe and you have had over the last 10 years. So it's fantastic.
Thank you. You're absolutely right. Sometimes we learn so much. I'm 57 years young, and when I look in the mirror, I'm not sure that correlates with what I think of myself, because I'm watching myself age. And it's more than coming back with a response. It sure beats the alternative. As we grow with our experience, we take on a responsibility, not only to our teams, but to the people that we interact with. Yeah. I don't know about you, but as I get a little bit wiser, I realize that there is a discipline that I'm expected to conduct myself with. And, I may not be a leader that has a large impact within our country, but I can have an impact with my immediate team. Mm-hmm. And I can have an impact with the people that we partner with around the country. And I can have an impact with the community in which I live in and they live in. And today is a time of leadership. It's a big time to awake as leaders, whether you're a woman, a young person, an older man, a child. I think it's leadership that will right many of the wrongs that we see today, and that will help all of our businesses grow greater. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, absolutely. I'm one of those people, Daniel, that it's like, I love speaking in public. I love leadership, and I love marketing and branding. And like, those are three things that people would be like, no, never, don't put me in that position. Because I'm fascinated by the human dynamic. I really love getting inside of the, what makes people tick, what makes people want to buy things, what makes people, not buy things from you. And, there's a lot of, a lot of learning in that category, because we are in the people business. Beauty is very much a people business. And I believe that leading people and being able to lead your customers today too. It's not just engaging with your customers and, serving your customers. We have to lead the customers to some degree as well, because they're looking for that. And then that, I think, kind of really equals profits, equals success, however you look at that.
Right. Well, yes, they taught me that so long ago, and you're absolutely right. And what I'd add to leading the customers is helping them to navigate well. And today it was such a simpler time. I talk about back then. I'm not sure how far we go back, and I'm quite sure that my children are going to be talking to your children, and they're going to say it was such a simpler time, pre-pivot. And here we are, all trying to navigate. And we hear these words in our mind: be transparent. You need a social cause. You need to be a good person. You need to be invested in your community. Well, I'm not sure. That's a lot. That's a lot to do, and also kind of navigate a business. But I do think in this process of leading, we do have to somehow find our better self. And that's the face that we have to put on. And what I've learned is part of this leadership and part of finding our better self, it's a lot like sit-ups. And you say, well, what is he talking about now? But, it's hard to do a lot of sit-ups right away. But if you train yourself, it's not so hard to do those sit-ups. And when we focus on what does it mean to be your better self, and how do I practice that? And how do I not feed the bad dog? How do I continue to feed the good dog? And how do I find that which is good, that which is noble, that which is honest in other people and in myself? And how do I continue to be humble in my approach moving forward? And then you're going to ask ourselves this today: how do we stay relevant?
Oh, yes, that's a big one. I think that's a big one, because it's moving so fast. And you talked about, our kids talking about, simpler times, and us talking about simpler times. And there's a lot going on, and we're becoming busier and busier, but we have to be able to find those things that do make that connection to us. And we have to find those people that are supporting those facts to be able to make that connection with us.
Some of these touchstones that we're seeing, we think we are advancing, but in a lot of ways, almost anything goes today. And, we look back, and it's not, I think most people would accept the idea that we're going to do the right thing, that we're going to treat others as we would like to be treated. Sometimes we've advanced so far, but a lot of times we have forgotten sort of the bedrock or the foundation of where we started. My son went to a great business school, and I try to read everything and anything. I love Audible. Like, I'm addicted to Audible because I can move through so much, and I'm traveling all the time. And sometimes when I'm walking through an airport, I can't read a book, but I could listen to a book, right? And sometimes our eyes are so tired after a day that we can listen to something. So Jonah had part of what he had to read as part of his requirements at his school was Dale Carnegie's book on how to win friends and influence people.
Yeah,
So
classic.
Classic. My daughter was in a part business program and communications program in Boston, and it was also on her reader's list. So I picked it up again, and I read it. It's probably best to read that book and not do Audible, or do Audible with it, because there's so many great notes in it.
Oh, that's why I'm a big fan of reading sometimes, because I need to, digest it a little bit more and highlight it and fold pages and everything.
It's absolutely, you're going to yellow line things and you're going to write things in the column. But it was so pure. It was almost like Mr. Carnegie was teaching us the science of building a proper relationship. He was teaching us the importance of listening to your customer, paying respect to your customer. I think it was written in like 1931, and why some of the kids today or in the 30s, all these kids today are reacting is because it's so far away from some of the information that they're given today. I mean, they're given sales books about seduction and about what would such and such a dictator do. And it's so off the mark from this sort of authentic, genuine, transparent message that's out there today. So, if we need to cut through, we need to straighten the path out, and we need to lead our people, but we need to do it from the right place with the message.
Yeah, that is so true. Well, we're going to take a quick break right now, Daniel, with our audio team. But we're going to still be live on Facebook, and we've got some good friends that have joined us and are watching here. So stay with us, everybody. This is Daniel Kainer, and we're talking about the story of Oribe. We'll be right back. All right. Hey, everybody. Hi, we got Damian Carney and Jeff South. Hi, you guys. Thanks for joining us. Glad to have you here. And I know there's more people on here, but my phone is refreshing right now. So let's see what else we got going on here. I'm going to start a watch party at this point and see if we can't get a little bit more fun here in the Facebook world, because this is what it's all about now. Creating that outreach. Daniel, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here today and sharing this. And everything you're saying is all in alignment with the leadership that I think a lot of leadership is missing in our salon world today. I think the fragmentation of our industry with the different modes of types of operations that are available to our industry, which has served people well. I'm not against any of it. But I think leadership is the one element that's missing, because where we have to lead our lives and lead our business, lead our clients, and lead that part of it, I think a lot of that, we're really struggling with. A lot of stylists are really struggling with that.
It is. We're struggling with it, and we're struggling with it because we didn't build it into our methods earlier on. And as the world is shifting and as business is pivoting, we're looking for answers on how we can write the path, figure out how to follow a path. And it's all coming back to leadership and what our roles are. And, if we're coaching our teams and finding their personal path and what they're looking for as colleagues, what they're looking for in their personal world, and if we can help them to become better, then we're going to get engagement.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, we're coming back.
Yep, here we go.
You are listening to Beautiful Brands Inside and Out with Bonnie Bonadeo. If you have a question or comment about our show, please send an email to Bonnie at bonniebonadeo.com. That's Bonnie at bonniebonadeo.com. Now back to Beautiful Brands Inside and Out.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Beautiful Brands Inside and Out. We are talking about the story of Oribe today, and my guest is Daniel Kainer. He is the co-founder and president of Oribe. He was born and raised in Minnesota. He graduated from the University of Minnesota with a bachelor's degree in liberal arts, but he knew that there was more to business than what he thought. And he, along with two partners, he saw an opportunity to be able to create a hair care category that offered some uniqueness to it. So 30 years in the industry, and from this point on, 10 years, 40 countries, and over 100 employees. Oribe is definitely one of the success stories in our industry. And I am talking with Daniel in regards to some of that success, which I think is widely attributed to good leadership skills, which we talked about in the first segment, Daniel. Coaching, leadership. I know you're an avid reader and an avid Audible reader at this point. I love that too, although I can't keep up. I cannot keep up with all of the books that I have stacked, but I love to read, and I'm fascinated with those stories, those opportunities to be able to digest how to be a better person is what I always say. If it comes down to that, after I've read a book, if it helps me to be a better person, then that book was so worth reading.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or teaches us how to navigate, or helps us to respond to challenging situations. I mean, I think today we have so many resources to better our knowledge base. It's real difficult to better yourself. You're all great people. You're all powerful people. I think sometimes the divide is, our commitment to our level of scope in development. Mm-hmm. In life, it seems like, you go through one door and two more doors present themselves. And we walk through these doors, and each time we're learning a little bit more, we're able to handle a little bit more. And it seems that life gives us these challenges when we're able to handle them, not before. And then we get to kind of pass to a next door. Sometimes that's what I've experienced, but the amount of coaching that is available to all of us is just, it's a tremendous amount. So, I hope we're all taking advantage of it. It's something, my wife thinks I'm antisocial. Sonia gets upset when she sees me with my Audible ears on, but I guess I should take those off when I come home. But she never would get upset when I'm reading a book. I sit reading a book, but it becomes quite addictive, the amount of information. I do love historic fiction as well. This past year, I read Ron Chernow's book on Ulysses S. Grant, and a wonderful book on Abraham Lincoln. So I'm doing a deep dive into, our presidents, and kind of learning leadership from their perspective. I'm reading Mr. Caro's, I think he took 30 years to write the 4 books about Lyndon Johnson. In the second book, he had won a Pulitzer Prize. Now, because I've got Audible, I'm able to listen to that. And it is taking on quite a journey, but very rewarding and very interesting.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about, because I know you've got, the Oribe line is being, led by you, but you and your team are really trying to make an impact out there. And I want my listeners, especially my listeners that are not in the beauty industry, my consumer listeners, to just hear a little bit more about the Oribe line and what the experience can be for them if they're not familiar with it. And then we're going to tap back into a little bit more of that leadership and branding scope that you guys are doing so well.
Well, what we tried to do is we tried to create best in class. So in every category, there's good, better, and best. And in hair care, we thought there was some room to go, which is, I'll have to be careful because I hear a lot of people talk about, I created it because it wasn't there. There's wonderful products out there, and a lot of the products and the people that are founders of those companies and other people that work for other companies, there's a lot of great products out there. I'm proud of our brand because we spent so much time looking at so many of the components. I'll give you an example. The fragrance was very important. We said that, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could put a perfume grade fragrance, not just to cover up the base of the formulations, but what if we could create something that would linger in the hair and could be worn as a perfume? And this hadn't been done before. And as we marketed the product, and as the product was in the salons, in the homes, people would say, "You're wearing Oribe." It became a signature fragrance. And you'd walk into a salon and you'd say, "I smell Oribe. And some of the session hairdressers that had contracts with some of the other great beauty companies, they would use our product, but they would tape up the cans at the collections, at the shows. But you could smell
Right.
the Oribe.
You knew what it was.
So you knew what the product was.
And the fragrance, it's not masculine, it's not feminine. So it really does, I think, attract a lot of people to like it.
I think it's a shared fragrance, so both men and women would use the fragrance. And when we create a fine perfume, you create a brief. So you're creating a story. What would this be like? And Oribe always had. He was born in Cuba, so he remembers being at his grandmother's house, and there was the La Mariposa Blanca, which is the white butterfly jasmine, which is in the fragrance, and it was such a touchstone for him, and it was really beautiful. So that light citrus fragrance we call Côte d'Azur. Now, strangely enough, the market was saying, we want that as a perfume. We want to wear it. And I sat back and we looked at the team, and, there's something about focus. Said, well, we're trying to sell shampoo. How well are we going to sell a fragrance sitting on the same shelf? But, we waited a couple of years and we kept hearing it. And we did it, and it became one of our top 10 selling products. So if you can imagine, so sometimes my dad would always say to me, I have a fabulous dad, Harvey Kaner. And my dad would say to me that, a business plan is only as good as the paper it's written on, because you may be driving in your car and you may be headed south and you see a sign that says, the best blueberry pie and coffee is to your left. And you decide to take a left and your life changes. And oftentimes, most of us don't have a crystal ball. We have a strong feeling about our businesses. We know how we like to be treated if we're in the service business. So we have a strong institutional knowledge on how we should be gearing our sales teams or our client-facing teams. But sometimes magic will happen. And I think on this brand, I'm so grateful because the whole journey by and far has been really a growth experience. And I still so love it. And if I ever get lost, I think I've got three components, three things that I always talk about that kind of right me. It's kind of my North Star. And I always think about, in no order, I think about the same value is our team, our customers or partners that we sell with. So it could be Jeff South, or it's our customers that buy the product. And they're all three so relevant to the success of the Oribe brand. So if I get lost, those three things.
Yeah.
Customer, partners, and team. Are we doing the right thing by all three? And that sets me really straight.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that in Jeff's Salon Intrigue here in Atlanta, there was an enormous amount of enthusiasm and excitement with this team using the products, trying the products, sharing the products, and even selling the products. And I know and I'm going to speak to our industry here for just a second. I know a lot of people are worried about retail sales being down. A lot of people are worried about the different distribution chains and channels that are happening today, and not for any other reason other than we have to evolve. We have to make it easier. Consumers are wanting it. There's easier ways for them to get it. And I think a lot of people are just feeling flat in regards to trying new products or retailing products. And I'm just a firm believer that when you have that client right there with you in that moment, there isn't a better time. There isn't a better time to be able to talk with them about it. And I think I literally think it's part of our job as hairdressers to make sure that maintenance component is a part of the service. How they're treating themselves, in their hair at home is as important as how we're treating it in that moment in the salon. So when I saw how much enthusiasm the Intrigue team had with getting Oribe in and selling the line, and of course they're there today with your, I think it's your international artistic director, Ronnie.
Ronnie Cam from Amsterdam, a wonderful person.
Yeah, from Amsterdam, here in Atlanta, and they're doing a holiday hair day and having a blast with doing some updos and some braiding. He did some beautiful work on some of Jeff's clients, as well as some models that were brought in to be able to showcase some easy to do things. But fabulous day, and there's a lot of excitement around it, and that excites me because I want the salon industry, I want the professional side of our business to be excited by these things, because then the clients see the value that we bring as professionals to them.
Absolutely. Well, Ronnie is a joyful human being. It's fabulous to have around, so I'm glad he's there today. And anyone that's driving around and listening to this should go. And maybe you'll give the address, and they should go meet Ronnie, just because you don't have to buy any shampoo, you don't have to have a service. But Ronnie is someone that provides a wonderful, warm experience. And it's the experience part that is our path forward. Oftentimes people say to me, whether you're in the grocery business, whether you're in the entertainment business, whether you're in the news business, it's a lot about creating experience. But the challenge is most of us don't know what an experience is. How do you construct an experience?
Right. We know if we've had it afterwards, but we don't know how to create it on the front end.
Right. How the mind processes it. We're told that we as human beings have experiences every 3 seconds, that we're going to have 600 million experiences within our lifetime. And the sad thing about that is that most of those experiences are just lost forever. Now here I guess I'm quoting a little bit Daniel Kahneman, who does a TED Talk on happiness. And in that TED Talk, embedded in it, it's about 18 minutes, he talks about how the mind processes an experience. And he's a Nobel laureate, so we can trust what he's saying. And it's the memory. When we create a memory-grade experience, it's that which the mind keeps, and it's that which pushes us back into the grocery store, into the salon. It's that memory-grade experience. As we're in our businesses crafting something, we're taking the wrong approach if we're looking at Amazon as our problem, or the superstore that opened up across the street, because what we have is we've got this kind of category killer of experiences that we're providing every day to all of the clients that come in. So we have nothing but opportunity. And when we provide a great experience, when we understand how to cut and color hair, and we can customize it to each individual that comes in, and teach them how to replicate it at home. Well, why is that different than a craft beer, or a farm-to-table restaurant, or a handmade gardening tool? Our industry is fabulous because the consumer is not retiring like she used to. She's going to not retire at 62. She's going to continue on because she's going to live longer in a vibrant way. And the same thing with our male customers. But guess what? Today they're interested in skincare, and they're interested in coloring their hair. They're interested in fashionable haircuts. So I think the wrong approach in any field that we're in is to take a position that it's over. I think we have to take a position that is, it's just beginning, and what would it look like if we understood what the future could look like? What would our actions and our leadership, what shape would they take?
Yeah. And I think that, clients are still coming back into salons for that experience. And I think, sharing with them ways to be able to have great hair at home in between those appointments is part of the experience. And I know that's part of the changes in the fragmentation of our industry. I think a little bit is are you just providing a service, or are you providing an experience for that client?
Yes, absolutely.
And can you define the two?
Absolutely. You have to be conscious of it, and we have to be thinking about it. If more people are getting their hair done and they're getting more services, every time I look around, someone's telling me about an amazing, facial business that focuses just on facials, or an amazing, place you can go just to have your hair blow dried, or, some place where you can have eyelash extensions, or someone who specializes in color. And these are growth businesses. These are entrepreneurs that are coming into our business that see a long future in business. And these are people that raised funds that had to tell a business story of growth. And these are the people that got money from sophisticated investors. So I oftentimes wonder, instead of, having this kind of, this period of non-productivity, and instead of challenging ourselves to learn and to grow, and kind of sitting back and saying it's over, I would say to our listeners that I don't accept that. I think it's just begun. And I think the opportunity is vast. I do think there's a new iteration of opportunity. I think there's a bit of evolution. But the fundamentals of our business are still there. No one stopped getting their hair colored and cut. No one stopped having their eyebrows treated or waxed or dyed or threaded. Plastic surgery is way up. We know the consumer wants to look vibrant and young. We know that people are interested in their fashion. There's so many signs that tell us that we're in a growth business. But again, I think it goes back to what, Bonnie, you told me, leadership.
Leadership.
Where are we going? How are we coaching our people?
How are we coaching our people, and our people are including our customers, because we're not only, our purpose is not only to educate them, but to lead them to make better decisions, because they have so many choices today. And being the expert that you are, you can certainly help them make the best choice. And Oribe, I'm going to say, is one of those better choices there. Daniel, you've been a fantastic guest. I can't believe that the time is up already, as it always goes so fast when there's very enlightening and passionate conversations going on. Would you like to share with people? So I want them to have this experience of Oribe. Please share with our listeners how they can have an experience with Oribe, try it, buy it, whatever that looks like for you.
Well, I think I'd love you to go into one of our salons across the country. Oribe is represented in some of the finest salons in America. There's hundreds of thousands of them. We have less than 1,000 today, but these are the real practitioners within any market, and they're trained on the product, and you'll get a beautiful service, and they'll show you how to use the product. And my wish is that you'll have an amazing experience, and you'll meet some of the small owner operators of these fabulous businesses around the country. And that's where I'd love you to purchase the product, experience the product, go in for services, because it's really, I think, stylist assisted. In this world of small, it's great. I mean, all businesses are great, but in beauty, it's stylist led, it's stylist prescripted, and each one of your needs are customized. So ask them, what are your challenges? And get them to give you the right style for you and prescribe the right product for you. And I hope you enjoy it. And Oribe.com.
Beautiful. So if you need to find a salon, you can always go to Oribe.com. But if your salon doesn't have it, maybe go in there and ask for it and say, I want to try the Oribe products. And
like your style, Bonnie. I like your style.
Yeah. And I know they'll know where to find it. So Daniel, thanks for being a fantastic guest today. I wish you the best holiday season ever, and many successes going into 2020 for you.
And the same thing to you and to our audience. I wish you health, because that is the most important thing. And I wish you peace. And I'd like you all to embrace your leadership style and take baby steps. But we need leaders. And I think when you take a look at all of you, that's what we need. That we've got plenty. So thank you all.
Yeah, we got great leaders out there. Let's start leading. Fantastic. Thank you guys. Hey, listen, you guys, go to my Facebook page, Beauty Inside and Out Show. I've got some updates. I got a vision blast that's going to be happening, a 5-day challenge, so that you can get yourself in alignment with 2020 and what some of your goals and dreams are. And it's not going to be your traditional do a storyboard type of thing and, get on Pinterest and find pictures of things you want. It's really more of a mindset of what you're going to need in order to have the best year ever. But go to my Facebook page, Beauty Inside and Out, and I'll share all the details of how you can join me for that and other opportunities coming into 2020. I'm going to take a break right now for the holidays, but I will be back on the 26th of December, and you'll be glad that I'm launching another book called Women Standing Strong Together, and I'm going to have 5 of the other authors and myself, and we're going to be sharing with you the stories that we've added to this collaborative book of women coming together. So appreciate you guys always listening and being here, and remember to always be you in beauty. Thank you.